And Iranian officials are holding out hope for progress towards a deal to head off renewed conflict when talks with US negotiators resume on Thursday. This despite an enormous build-up of American military might in the Middle East. EU Foreign
Yes,
Policy
the
Chief Kaja
situation in
Kallas
Iran,
urging
of
a
course,
diplomatic
is
solution as US
very
President Donald Trump
intense.
threatens
So
strikes
we
on the
don't need
country.
another
In the
war
meantime, Iranian students have
in this
resumed
region. We
protesting
already
despite
have a
last
lot.
month's
So we
bloody
have stressed
crackdown
the
by the regime.
diplomatic
Let's cross now to
way out
Reza
of this. So
Sayah
we are
in
also willing
Tehran.
to
First of all,
contribute, and
Reza,
it's
what
not
exactly
only
are
the
the scale
nuclear
and
issue, but
significance of these protests?
According to a couple of reports on Iranian state media and some reports on social media, these were student demonstrations that took place on Saturday and Sunday, the first 2 days of the new semester, in four universities in Tehran and one university in the holy city of Mashhad. Based on what I observed on the brief video clips that were aired on state media and social media, these demonstrators numbered in the hundreds, and they weren't in public streets. They were limited to university campuses. So the scale was nowhere near what we saw in the protests in late December and January, of course. Many of these students were using these demonstrations to commemorate the deaths of some of the protesters who were killed in the crackdown. And during these demonstrations, there were indeed some anti-government slogans, some slogans against Iran's supreme leader. Now, in at least a couple of these demonstrations, you also had pro-government students and what some social media posts described as Basiji students. Of course, the Basij is a volunteer civilian auxiliary force under the Revolutionary Guard. They do everything from armed policing, armed security work, to social services, and they support the government. And again, at least on a couple of these demonstrations, those two sides got a little bit close, and there were some punches thrown. Some headlines are describing these as clashes, but I would describe them as fisticuffs and punches. There's no indication that anyone was seriously hurt. And no weapons. Obviously, this is a very sensitive time in Iran. Emotions are running high. You have a lot of students who are still reeling and grieving from the people killed last month, and then who are furious with their government. And then you have pro-government students in groups who believe that Iran's enemies, namely the U.S. and Israel, are using these protests and using these deaths to as justification to attack Iran. And it's perhaps understandable when these two sides get close in quarters like the university campus, you have some clashes like that.
Now, a date has been set, Reza, for the next round of talks. So Washington says a military attack is still on the table. So how is Iran approaching this next round of negotiations?
Yeah, indeed, the next round of indirect talks scheduled for this coming Thursday in Geneva. There on one side, you're going to have the Iranian delegation led by Ali Abbas Araghchi, the Iranian foreign minister, and his colleagues. On the other side, Steve Witkoff, the special U.S. envoy to the region. Iranian officials say that in these next round of talks on Thursday, they're going to present Washington with a draft proposal of the agreement. They're going to see what happens. Interestingly, there's no indication that the U.S. is going to present their draft agreement. All of this, of course, happening against the backdrop of Washington beating the drums of war, bolstering their forces in the Arabian Sea just off the southern coast of Iran, and U.S. President Donald Trump still saying that military action is still an option. And increasingly, Tehran is aware of that, and they're planning for both scenarios. I was speaking to Iranian officials at the foreign ministry today. Their position is still that they're approaching this as a good faith negotiation, and they're still hopeful that an agreement could be reached, but they do see increasing signs that there could be a military attack, and they say they're planning for that. They say if there is an attack, they're planning for a response, and they say their response is going to be aggressive and it's going to be regional in nature. So definitely nervous times here in Tehran, and a lot at stake in these next round of talks in Geneva on Thursday.